Tell me if this sounds familiar. The latest Call of Duty game has been out for a few months now, and you are absolutely done with it. You still play from time to time, but it's gotten to the point where you start playing other games in competition to Call of Duty, like XDefiant. In COD terms, this basically means, F you Activision, I want my money back. This is the relationship between Call of Duty and its players who seemingly come back every freaking year. Despite our frustration, we always fall for the hype of the next one. But even if you're just a casual enjoyer of the franchise, have you ever wondered how Call of Duty endlessly tricks us? What Call of Duty does not want you to know is they capitalize on the same 4 phases and abuse the same 2 marketing tactics. But what are those phases? What tactics are they using to reel us back into each new game? And is the same thing bound to happen with Black Ops 6 and all the new games to follow? Well, let's start with Phase 1, Sell the Promise. But when does the promise start, you may be asking? The promise starts as soon as you start trashing the new game. Let's use Modern Warfare 2 2022 as an example. What did COD players criticize the game for most of all? The multiplayer. Arguably the worst in COD history. Most of us hated the loud footsteps because it encouraged camping. We were tired of the slow movement because it made the gameplay look boring. And we were disgusted by the horrible map design because it made the game unplayable. Seriously, comment if border crossing still gives you nightmares too. So what did Call of Duty do in response to the negative feedback? COD started dropping little nuggets to the community that would ease each of our complaints. To combat the loud footsteps, Modern Warfare 3 would have the Dead Silence perk return. To solve the slow movement complaint, MW3 would also have faster movement to make the gameplay more engaging. And to solve the bad map design, COD vowed to bring back every single classic map from the OG MW2. All was solved, right? Not exactly. You see, it's easy for COD players to forget the past because Call of Duty knows exactly how to manipulate them, and this is where the 2 marketing tactics come into play. But before I reveal to you what those 2 tactics are, there's Phase 2. Make a meaningless trailer look cool. It's undeniable that Call of Duty knows how to put together a compelling game trailer. Whether the trailer is received well or poorly, it always creates tons of buzz and gets players hyped for the new game. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting hyped, but if the trailer alone is what sells you on the game, there's a problem. Test the product before you buy it, ass clown. The same philosophy applies to Call of Duty. So in case the game trailer doesn't get players to pull the trigger, Call of Duty unleashes Phase 3, the beta. The beta is a critical period where Activision hooks players even deeper. When it comes to early access, what does it make you think of? For most gamers, early access to a game is a huge deal. It feels like being part of an exclusive club, like you're getting the VIP treatment. You have to remember, this phase is all about building hype to the moon. So the beta offers a sneak peek, giving COD players a taste of what's to come. Players get to experience new maps, weapons, and modes ahead of the full release. And you want to know the best way to advertise this? Through content creators. During the beta, everyone watches their favorite streamers to get the scoop. If the influencers are hyping the game up, their fans will be more inclined to buy into the hype as well. This is also why you'll notice that Call of Duty uses these creators to advertise their game even more, by sending cool Easter eggs to build mystery and excitement. As the beta progresses, Activision wisely uses player feedback to make last-minute tweaks, which gives the impression that the developers are listening to the community. As a result, players are left feeling gratified. Sledgehammer Games used this strategy during the MW3 beta by purposefully making slide canceling a bit delayed, only to fix it before the end of the beta. Normally, as the beta does come to an end, pre-orders skyrocket and the surging hype carries Call of Duty all the way to Phase 4, the honeymoon phase. This is the phase when the game has just launched and the hype is at its absolute peak. COD players finally get their hands on the full game, and the community is more active than ever. All the new maps, weapons, modes, features, they're all fresh and engaging. Everyone's going through the camo grind, leveling up their prestige and battle pass tiers, and competing in limited time events. And social media is buzzing with clips and discussions about the game. Whether it's tips and tricks or game reviews, everyone wants to hear what their favorite creators feel about it. As creators continue to promote the game to their viewers, sales continue to climb because players don't want to miss out on any of the action. Before you know it, we cycle all the way back to Phase 1, when players would rather watch paint dry. It's the COD cycle, as we all know it. Now that we've identified the 4 phases Call of Duty uses to trick us, I have one question for you. Did you identify the 2 tactics yet? I'll give you 5 more seconds while you hit those like and subscribe buttons. FOMO, the fear of missing out, and bait. I'll leave what I mean by bait as a mystery for the time being, and we will discuss what this means for Black Ops 6 and future installments and whether you should buy it or not. But first, let's return to each phase and identify the points you may have missed where Call of Duty uses FOMO to trick us every year into buying the next game. Going back to Phase 1 where COD sells the promise, I talked about those little nuggets or leaks they drop on us. The leaks spread rumors about fixes to player complaints, like MW3 with Dead Silence, faster movement, and OG MW2 maps. It may not seem as significant in the moment, but it does plant that seed of FOMO in the sense that players are now thinking about the potential of the next game. That's not even to mention the zombies leaks, and it's even more effective while you spread these rumors during a dire time when players need to hear something good for once. In Phase 2, it's all about the trailer. When COD players watch the trailer and see that it's getting millions of views and tons of discussion, it only intensifies the feeling to get involved and play the campaign, which by the way, pre-ordering gives you early access to the campaign. The fact that Call of Duty got you watching the trailer is proof in itself that their FOMO tactic is working. In Phase 3, I talked about the beta. I don't know about you, but the fact that the early access beta is a limited time event screams FOMO. Players don't want to miss out on a trial that would most likely determine whether they buy the game or not, and if you pre-order the game, you get to play the beta before those who didn't pre-order. Watching your favorite creators play and enjoy the game is also a classic case of FOMO. Watching their experience makes you want to get on the action for yourself, and if your playing experience is positive, it only further drives that FOMO towards the full release of the game, which takes us into Phase 4, when the game first drops and everyone has that itch to play. Again, there's that aspect of watching your favorite creators and not wanting to miss out, but let's be real. COD is going to be all over social media of people posting funny clips and getting into toxic debates. That's not even to mention wanting to earn the mastery camo before your friends, completing the battle pass before it ends, and completing the challenges to limited time events. COD wants you to feel you're missing out on cool rewards if you don't devote hours of your life into playing their games. Sadly, the FOMO tactic works on many players, which is one of the major ways Call of Duty tricks us every year. Now it's time to get into the other mysterious tactic that COD uses, bait. You're probably asking right now, what do you mean exactly by bait? And I know, it is a broad term, but think about it this way. When you go fishing, you use different baits for different fish. So when it comes to Call of Duty, they use the bait that works best on COD players, nostalgia. Let's return to Phase 1, when rumors spread about the OG MW2 maps making a return. Although that's what players thought they'd get in MW2 2022, it still planted that seed I talked about earlier. The seed that got COD players thinking of the potential of playing on all those classic maps again and reliving their childhoods. How about the fact that they've been milking the Modern Warfare and Black Ops names forever now? In Phase 2, COD suckers see their favorite characters from the franchise and get hyped, especially after they drop a badass line.
Bravo 6, going dark.
Characters like Captain Price and Frank Woods, they do play a role in nostalgia baiting because these are characters going all the way back to the old games, so the emotional appeal comes from the amazing memories sparked by those familiar faces. In Phase 3, when I talked about the beta, players get to relive the nostalgia of getting hyped to play the next COD, and during the MW3 beta, everyone got to relive some of the OG MW2 maps, which obviously brought back some core memories. All this bait to carry us to Phase 4, when COD adds things like nostalgic maps and weapons throughout the game's lifecycle. But now that we've broken down the phases and tactics that COD uses to trick us every year, it's time to look ahead. As Black Ops 6 remains on deck, you may be wondering, will Activision use the same tricks that get us hooked again? And should you buy Black Ops 6 or not? Well, let's first take a look at where Black Ops 6 stands at the moment. Phase 1 of selling the promise has already come and gone. Between positive leaks about 4-year development time, return of the classic prestige mode, and 2 round-based zombies maps on launch, Black Ops 6 has some serious buzz, and the campaign is being hyped up because MW3's was a massive letdown to the community. But as of now, Phase 2 has just begun with the release of the Black Ops 6 trailer. COD players are way more hyped than I remember for MW3, so that's a good sign for Call of Duty. So yeah, you can already see how COD is using FOMO to trick us again this year. Based on the exciting community reaction to the Black Ops 6 trailer, many COD players do not want to miss out on this year. You can also see how COD is using nostalgia bait to trick us again. From the return of the classic Black Ops title, to the return of old characters, to the return of classic prestige, COD players just cannot resist taking the beta features that should have never been taken away. Like, think about it. Are you really gonna praise the developers for giving us things that never should have been taken away? Like, gee, thanks Activision for depriving us of an actual progression system for all these years, only to give it back to us when the franchise becomes drier than the Sahara Desert. It's part of the bait tactic to hook you into buying Black Ops 6. Anyhow, if players are still not hooked, Call of Duty will use Phase 3 of the beta for players to experience the game for themselves, without any goofy skins, may I add. It's not even a true experience of the game as far as I'm concerned. The beta will encourage players to buy the game and eventually experience the honeymoon phase. And let's be real, this is pretty much how it's gonna go with every future installment. It's how it's always went with this franchise. But here's where it gets even trickier. Now that we understand how Call of Duty is trying to trick us with Black Ops 6, we need to answer the most important question of all. Should you buy Black Ops 6? Better yet, should you ever buy a Call of Duty game ever again? Well, let's talk about Black Ops 6. It's extremely simple. First of all, if you're an Xbox player, BO6 will reportedly be on Game Pass, so you're in luck. But you also have to wonder if that's a good sign about the quality of the game, because if Xbox is already throwing it on Game Pass, how much should they truly value it? Nevertheless, if you buy Call of Duty for multiplayer, you have to keep in mind of the deal breakers. Skill-based matchmaking and engagement-optimized matchmaking will still exist. Skins and bundles will be just as prevalent, if not more, and the Battle Pass is going nowhere. So if any of these are deal breakers for you, do not buy Black Ops 6, regardless of Classic Prestige mode returning and other bait features we already had. Also, what in the hell is this omnidirectional movement? Looks like another case of trying to fix things that aren't broken. If you buy Call of Duty for the campaign, and I don't know why you would after experiencing MW3, you need to keep in mind of the open world rumors. These rumors worry me because COD already experimented with these types of missions in MW3, and it failed miserably. If Treyarch decides to reinvent the wheel and do away with the old style of linear missions, I wouldn't buy Black Ops 6 for the campaign either. I know, this sounds pretty grim, but I have some good news for Zombies players. Given the return of round-based zombies, which reportedly includes 2 maps on launch, I could 100% see myself buying this game purely for the zombies experience. Although Treyarch has dropped the ball on recent modes like Vanguard Zombies and Modern Warfare 3's MWZ, I still have faith that they can bring forth a fun mode like Black Ops Cold War. And let's not forget Cold War was the last game Treyarch developed as the lead studio, so I'm excited to see what they have in store for Black Ops 6. And no, I don't mean that freaking bundle store. So yeah, basically, if you have any standards for multiplayer and campaign, I wouldn't get too excited yet. But I do still believe that these modes could be an improvement from MW3. So it all goes back to how serious you take SBMM or EOMM in microtransactions. Zombies players, our time has finally come. Congratulations, we deserve it. But the point is, don't keep falling for Call of Duty's tricks every year. It's a trap. Really sit down and think about what kind of game you're investing in, and whether or not you'll end up regretting your purchase. Nevertheless, now that we've analyzed Black Ops 6 and whether or not you should buy it, well, if you still somehow have hope for Call of Duty, you're gonna have to take it year by year, case by case. If you prefer multiplayer to be slow and campy, wait for Infinity Ward. If you prefer multiplayer to be faster, or if you exclusively play for zombies, wait for Treyarch or Sledgehammer. But if you're sick and tired of the games having rigged matchmaking, you're out of luck. Unless FPS competitors like XDefiant cause COD to tone down the matchmaking, it will never change. Now that you know how to resist COD's trickery every year, you need to understand how the franchise has declined on a deeper level. So watch this video on how the influence of Fortnite ruins Call of Duty. Thanks for watching, everyone. Comment if you're buying Black Ops 6 or not. Feel free to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed and want more content like this. I am exceptional. 'Tis been one.